the new OP codes that allow the stablecoins to exist on Kaspa, the more the merrier. If we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 layer 2s on Kaspa,
Welcome to XXIM Podcast, your home of decentralization. Today I've got with me Kaspador.
Hey Ankit, lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
You were in the past, for people that are perhaps not aware of your background, you were running Kasbay. You were the co-founder or founder of Kasbay. And now you've got a new role, right, at Kasplex. So I'd love to know how you're managing both.
Yeah, indeed. As a short, let's say, history, I've built several tools with on Cas, but those are, I would say, low-level tools, nothing fancy. But still, they brought, I would say, I hope, some help to the end users. I've run Cas.live, which is still up and running now. It's a timer on the Crescendo hard fork if you open that. And then together with three developers, we've built Kasbay, which basically is a go-to shop for everything around Kaspa in terms of resources and information. And since 1st of April, I've joined Kasplex, so almost 1 month now, trying to be let's say, the middleman between the technical part of things from Kasplex and the community to do a translation between what is the dev doing or what are the devs doing and translate that to, let's say, a business language, or I would rather say to a normal language to our colleagues from Kasplex, from Kaspa, right?
Yeah.
Kasbay is one thing, total separate team. We have a roadmap, and Kasplex takes my full-time job. So whenever I need to jump in on Kasbay, that's easy to do because I have the developers with me.
So you're still running Kasbay, but that's a side project,
Yeah.
side hustle. And then your full-time is Kasplex marketing manager role, as you put it there, right? I want to get into Kasplex.
Yeah.
I want to get into like the infrastructure part, and just on the higher level, this is a new role for Kasplex, right?
Yeah, so exactly as I was saying, so Kasplex, the team behind Kasplex, and it's a very large team. They basically are focusing and focused on developments, and their presence on online and the way that they are, let's say, promoting, or not promoting, but updating the community on the progress that they have was a bit, let's say, in the shadow. They weren't focused on that. They were, as I was saying, focused on the development part of things. Hence, I've joined them, trying to be this middleman, doing that for them, right? So, picking up the updates from the technical team and translating them and somehow for the normal user.
And for people that are not aware of Kasplex, like, how do you internally define Kasplex?
I would say there is a lack of understanding of Kaspa, Kasplex, Igra, KSPR bot, Sparkle, and
Right.
everything that is building on top of Kaspa, right? So we shouldn't assume that everyone knows what Kasplex or who Kasplex is, or because people are still mixing this together. They do believe that Kasplex is part of Kaspa, or it's an extension of Kaspa, which is obviously not true, right? So Kasplex basically is, as you are saying, the very first protocol on Kaspa. Basically, Kasplex allowed everyone to deploy a token using the OP codes inscriptions. So it was the very first protocol to allow an user to mint a token, and to a certain extent, that's the proper L2 from the get-go, right? Because it obviously uses its own nodes, but leverages the Kaspa layer 1. So Kasplex didn't build KRC 721. This is another misconception. So the NFTs part were developed by a different team. Kasplex had nothing to do with the NFTs.
Good.
Focus on Kasplex was KRC 20. And as you were saying, we have 2,000 tokens minted. 100 million plus transaction. But what is very, very important, everything else that is built now, Kaspa.com, KSPR bot, and all other tools that surfaced post KRC20, those are all leveraging the developments done by Kasplex. So, in a nutshell, Kasplex is a baseline, a foundation for other builders to use Kaspa network, right? So, and this is just a stepping stone. This is just the first layer. And coming up next, it's going to be way more.
I wanted to ask you how Kasplex is connected to KEF, because I think that's where I get confused sometimes. The role of KEF and how Kasplex works with KEF. It's funded by KEF as far as I understood it.
KEF, Kaspa Ecosystem Foundation, is a totally different organization that is separate from Kasplex, Kaspa, and everything out there. KEF is basically funding those teams and projects that are bringing value to Kaspa. And as I was saying, Kasplex is a totally different team. But to answer your question, Kasplex is funded by KEF, and Kasplex is a non-profit organization, meaning that their goal is not to obviously sell anything to anyone. They are just developing and deploying tools to be used by third-party teams, and Kasplex allows basically the third-party teams to grow even more the usage of Kaspa, right? Instead of taking all the, let's say, the space, because obviously Kasplex could have released a marketplace for the trading of the KRC20, or they could have released bots for doing things. They decided not to leave room to others to develop. So KEF, in a nutshell, is helping Kasplex to achieve these things without the stress and the focus on money. And to be honest, the team at Kasplex, we have weekly meetings, we have ad hoc meetings. Never ever there is a discussion around how to monetize anything that they are building. So this is a very good thing, because if KEF is funding Kasplex can focus entirely on the development without the stress and the need of funds, right?
So the long-term vision for Kasplex is to help grow the ecosystem of Kaspa. Is this the simple goal?
Yes. So as I was saying previously, Kasplex sets the foundations needed for others to build. As Kasplex already did previously by developing and deploying the KRC20. So Kasplex is how should I put it? Is the go-to place if you want to build on top of Kaspa. It's the infrastructure needed for everyone to bring to life their projects, right?
So it's good to define individual role of how these organizations work, and good to know about Kasplex itself being a not-profit. How big is the team? I know there's Chris, there's you, but we don't know a lot about the inner workings of Kasplex.
Sure. So I would say the most visible members of Kasplex are obviously Chris, 5BB or Bean, and myself. We are the most, let's say, active and visible out there. But there are teams behind, I would say, behind Chris and 5BB that are developing. I cannot put a number to it saying it's 20, 52. But there are teams that are building and doing the actual development together with obviously Chris and 5BB and others.
I see.
It's not a like a 2-3 man show. It's a larger team, which because this obviously allows everyone in Kasplex to focus on their part. For example, some are focusing on the documentation, some are focusing on the actual developments, others are focusing on marketing like myself, and others are doing brainstorming, and they are trying to find better solutions or even other solutions to build on Kaspa, which are not yet promoted or known to Kaspa.
Right. And but you and what is the background? I want to have a full segment on Kasplex one day, perhaps on the number of people, where they come from, what's the background. Like, we know about your background, but I think that's, I'm sure, a lot more people. You just don't wake up and start building on Kaspa. Like, you have to have some background and some reasons why you got started with Kaspa, right? So I think if you have a top line, like why the team, like Chris and the team that's building it, why they got started with Kaspa and Kasplex in first place.
Yeah, I need to let's say put a headline on that once I discuss with them. I never, to be honest, I never put myself in this position trying to understand why, but and what's the background. But what I can see and already know is that they are very good developers, and the reason behind it is to obviously offer a space for everyone to build. But what determined them to actually build on Kaspa is something that I never looked into. But definitely, this is something that I can go and ask and see the let's say the
Yeah,
reasoning.
yeah, I think it'll be good to know because for us, we love Kaspa because of decentralization, right? Like, we're open about it. Let's move the gear a little bit and get into the L2 layer 2 infrastructure, layer 2 technology. We know it's going to be aligned with the layer 1, which is the thinking is it's going to be based rollups. That's the starting point, right? How you guys are thinking about layer 2s on Kaspa now?
This is what so there was a debate before saying that Kasplex is a layer 1.5 rather than layer 2 because it's like using is a based rollup and using this sequencing on the layer 1.
Mhm.
So and I was happy with that labeling because the labeling is coming from the Ethereum and other forums and discussions that they are mentioning uh, that layer that is doing the sequencing on layer 1 should be called layer 1.5. But when I reached out to Chris and Kasplex internally to get more details, they were like very humble, saying, no, in our opinion, if you are building and if you are running your nodes, even if you have the sequencing done on layer 1, we cannot be called a layer 1.5. A layer 2 is basically what we are doing together with other projects out there on Kaspa. So, as I was saying in the last space, it doesn't really, it's not important who's, I would say, good or bad or no, this is obviously important, but it's not who's better or worse on this. Kasplex on a layer 2 approach is like, as you already know, building the based rollup solutions, meaning that we will do the sequencing on layer 1 and then obviously do the transactions on the layer 2. And once the ZK or OP codes are out, we will implement those as well. And as far as I know, this is like very, I don't say very easy, but it's very achievable by Kasplex. So once we have the OP codes for the zero knowledge proof on Kaspa, we will be able to integrate that fairly easily.
Right. So just moving on to the infrastructure part now, like, the best thing for us to do is just to explain to customers, right, the listeners and the people that are watching it, a very simple example. How do you see it? A dApp that's built on Kasplex layer 2, right? When a user executes a transaction, how that transaction goes through all the way to the settlement on layer 1, right? So if you happen to know that, it'll be easier for us to visualize, and perhaps there I can ask you some questions. It's just a simple way to visualize how things work will work within the Kasplex ecosystem of layer 2.
This was brought in the last space as well, right? So I'm helping Kasplex also writing the documentation. And in the last space, I'm not sure if it was you or Pavel from Igra, someone asked for a one-pager view on how this will settle, right? We have the documentation almost ready. I do not want to go into the details because of the fact that I don't cover that from a technical point of view, so I don't want to say stupid things. But I have in front of me the actual chart and the diagram on how the transactions is going to be settled and sent and stored. What I can say for this time is that once the testnet of Kasplex is out, the very comprehensive documentation will be available as well. And I'm not hiding anything. It's just that I cannot cover for that, and I don't want to say something that is not true, right? So that's it. Would be better for us to wait for the
Okay, that's
documentation.
fine. I think the interaction I had with Chris on Twitter, on X, maybe a week or so ago, was Chris highlighted specific things to me between again, we're not trying to compare anything here. We're just trying to have a very genuine discussion between what's being built, and users will decide, community
Yeah.
will decide what's right for them, and time will decide also. Sometimes times unfolds better than humans can, I believe. But what the discussion I had with Chris was basically that series of events. And again, if you think it's going in a wrong direction, you can stop me. But the way I understood it, there is no relay in between, right? For IGRA, I think they use sort of relay in between, where the transfer of like from EVM state to the Kaspa change happens. And I think the way Chris mentioned is like there is no relay that you guys use. The transaction one by one goes from wallet all the way to the layer ones for sequencing. That was one of the major differences that he highlighted.
No, that's true, but Kasplex will also, let's say, facilitate the relayer thing as well. So on Kasplex, you will be able to use whatever wallet that supports EVM, and obviously a relayer in between, or you can use our wallet, not our, because the wallet that is coming up is not developed by Kasplex; it's developed by a third-party team which doesn't use a relayer. But at the end of the day, the user doesn't understand or feels anything these two approaches, right? Be it via relayer or be it directly. So for them, they don't see anything, right? This is like more for the techie guys.
I think it does matter job to explain to people, right? So for me, relay does matter. Like if you think there is a potential of centralization, right? And again, it's not that someone is doing that, but it's a potential, right? That's why we do these excessive measures to build the layer one the way the layer one is built. I guess I want to get into the infrastructure, but if you're not open to discussing quite yet, then it's obviously we might have to come around to it in a different session.
I wouldn't say I'm not open to discuss on it. I'm just trying to be on the place that I can cover. So if there are questions which I can answer, obviously I will do it. So it's not like I don't want to. I don't want to say not true things, or let's say
Okay.
wrong things.
Yeah. I think that's fair enough.
So
Yeah. I guess let's move on then. Let's get to this part that Kasplex will not have their own token, right? And that's one of the key things that you'll use wrapped Kas for gas, which obviously every layer 2 will have to use gas, some version of between layer 1 native coin versus wrapped coin. What is the thinking behind the not having your own coin? I mean, I think it's overall good for everyone, but yeah, what was the thinking behind that whole process?
I think this also relates to the initial discussion where we were saying that the funding is not needed. So Kasplex is a non-profit organization. Right. And I'm not saying that whoever is building a token for their layer 2, they are doing it wrong. No, that's okay. Everyone can do whatever they need to fund or to secure the network. But on Kasplex, the focus is on building the actual product instead of deploying a token, which would be by itself a totally different project, which needs a different team and focus, and try to find a place to fit that token within the layer 2. So basically on Kasplex, we didn't identify any need or any corner case to deploy a specific token for Kasplex. So if there was a case like we needed to have this to fund or to secure the network or to show something to someone, then definitely this would have been the case. But looking through the entire setup of Kaspa and the layer 2, Kasplex focus is on building the layer 2 without the need of deploying a token.
Right. And you don't think it's needed for securing the network, layer 2 network? Because I think most of the time when layer 2s have their coin, they're typically they say because securing the network, but it's also obviously creating some liquidity for them. It's pretty obvious. But you don't think you'll be needing to secure the network through your own token?
No, and this has been brought up in the space that I've been last time, and I'm due with a follow up on that one. I know this, but the entire, let's say, flow of how the transaction will go from layer 2 to layer 1 and vice versa, and together on the how we are going to actually secure those transactions will be displayed, will be explained in the documentation that we will be issuing very, very soon. So there are two parts. One is the one that we just discussed, how we are going to actually secure those transactions and settle those, and the other one is like funding and raising liquidity. There is no need for funding and raising the liquidity on layer 2, and if there is no need to secure the network because the approach is totally different, which again will be explained in the documentation, then there is no need for a layer 2 Kasplex token.
Okay, all right. I think it'll be good. Again, I think it all sits around the documentation. Once you have it, I think it'll probably clarify a lot of things there. So why don't we get into the timelines then? Because I think you're looking to launch a public testnet soon, I believe.
Yes. There are, so when we had the conference in Romania, I believe 1.5 months back, Kasplex said they are going to do three major things. One would be the new Opcodes that allow the stablecoins to exist on Kaspa, and Kasplex already issued a tweet a few days back saying that we upgraded to the new node, which now supports those 4 new OP codes, blacklist, issue, mint tokens. And there is a tweet about this. So basically, as of now, if someone wants to deploy a stablecoin on Kaspa post crescendo, because that's the date when the new node will activate, you will be able to use those 4 OP codes to issue stablecoins on Kaspa. Of course, the difference here is like some stablecoin issuers will say we prefer to have smart contracts. Others can say no, we are good with those 4 OP codes; those are sufficient for us to deploy a stable. So this was one major milestone, the 4 new OP codes. The second major milestone is the lightweight indexer for people to run and use, so they can actually run their own node for Kasplex, and they are decentralized, right? Because you have the access to your own node and you can see what's happening there.
Right.
And the third major milestone, third major milestone is the actual layer 2 testnet and mainnet. The lightweight indexer is coming up pretty fast, and the testnet, public testnet, is also coming up extremely fast. This means that, and whilst I cannot give proper due dates because in development things can change, the testnet together with the documentation is right around the corner, I would say.
Right. Interesting.
The public testnet.
Yeah. So you've done right. Let me just go through one by one, because you've mentioned 3 things, right? So you've mentioned stablecoin opcodes, you mentioned the lightweight indexer, right? And third one is obviously the testnet, the public testnet that's coming up, right? Good. Look, I haven't actually personally read the tweet, so if I could go through stablecoin, that's exciting, right? For stablecoin specifically, what type of stablecoin because there is really 2 options on layer 2, right? This is either wrapped version of stablecoin or some sort of smart contract version of stablecoin working with the issuer. USDT, USDC, they want to work with you. You can't. And if you want to deploy yourself, you just go through wrapped version of stablecoin. So what does these opcodes do, especially with these backed, like one-to-one backed stablecoins?
So on the 17th of April, there was this tweet saying we've just released the 2.03 full node indexer update, which basically says that the node is being updated and adapted to the 10 bps synchronization performance, introduced fixed blocks execution, and then saying added 4 new OP codes: issue, chum, burn, and blacklist. This 4 OP codes allows, be it Tether, be it Circle, be it whoever is deploying, whoever is issuing a stable coin, to use these 4 OP codes to do the same on Kasplex,
I see.
on Kaspa, sorry.
I see.
And this is why I said depending on them, because I know Kef is in connection with in discussion with some stablecoin issuers, and they had different calls. I believe you know this. They had different calls, and some of them said, "Okay, we can wait for those OP codes," or others were saying, "No, we want to have the smart contracts." So the key message here is that
I see.
Kasplex now
I
offers,
see.
prior to any um, to any L2 mainnet release, Kasplex is offering the possibility for stablecoin issuers to issue their stables on Kaspa using the 4 new OP codes.
And this is not for layer 2? Is that what you're saying?
This is, as I was saying, KRC20 by itself is a layer 2,
Right. I
right?
see it. I
So
see. Okay, I got it. Right. So if someone wanted to come, a issuer wanted to come, so stablecoin issuer, they can come and issue now, like today. They don't need to wait for layer 2 to be built.
exactly, not today, but on the 5th of May, because the new OP codes are,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
the new, yeah,
I
yeah.
see. And I got it right. I think these are the 4 OP codes with the stablecoin issue would need. So I think burning, minting, I think redeeming, or there might be one more that they need to blacklisting. Right.
Blacklist.
I see. So this is not the wrapped stablecoin path, because this is more of a native path for stablecoin issuers to issue their coins
Directly on chain.
directly on chain. Though you'll have to bring them on, because typically I don't think the bigger stablecoin issuers come directly. It's a KEF or someone might have to be in touch with them and to talk to them. But
They they are already, yeah.
right, yeah, nice. So that's the first thing I got it. Second one was the lightweight indexer. So anything specifically there? This is for KRC20 as well, right? You run your indexer right now. So if I'm a project building, I need to access your APIs, and you obviously give access to the indexer. What exactly is the lightweight indexer? It's for people to run.
So so you can if you want to integrate KRC20 as a checks or whatever as a builder, you have two options. You either run your own node,
Right.
meaning your own indexer, or you can integrate KRC20 via APIs.
Mhm.
Most of the, let's say, of the builders and checkses, they are using APIs. It's easier, you have direct connection to the endpoints, and you can fetch whatever is in the indexer, right? But there are some projects that are saying that we would like to run our node, and they can run your node. They can run your node as of today, but that would be a full indexer node, which, as far as I know, requires quite a lot of storage.
Mhm.
And the lightweight indexer basically is a light version of the full node, which you can run. It will verify itself at the deployment on the full node, and then it's 100% legit that it has been verified and you are running the version in a lightweight mode, right? So this is something that can be used by anyone.
Mm.
They can use the full indexer now as well, but it has a higher, let's say, storage requirements. But the lightweight would be it would be more easy for everyone to run and build whatever they want.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think. Yeah, we've spoken to a few builders, and they were accessing through API, the Kasplex indexer. So I think this is sort of a step forward for them to have this lighter version of indexer, and perhaps different sort of applications that they can build. Um, who knows what's going to come out of it? So that's cool. That's cool. Was it request from the builders themselves, or is it something it helps Kasplex to lower the node, lower the pressure on the nodes on the indexer.
I couldn't say exactly if it was like the pressure, but this has been in the works and in Kasplex plan for the last few months. I believe even at the beginning they wanted to have the full node and the indexer node in the same time. So I wouldn't say. I think it's just something normal to have at the end of the day. It's not to allow a more decentralized approach rather than selecting only a few powerful people that can run high-end storage requirements to run an indexer.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. I think it definitely makes sense, and I'm sure we'll hear from builders getting excited by it.
Yes.
Okay.
8 more days.
Yes, it's coming. And the third one is the public testnet. What was the process to get to this public testnet that you're going to launch soon?
Sure. So on the DevNet, the topic on the DevNet is that we granted the access to teams that are not like they should know how to develop things. And the issue with that was that they needed to send a payload directly because there is no wallet to support the payload yet. So if Kasplex would have granted the access to everyone on DevNet, they would got stuck because they couldn't send a transaction, right? They couldn't generate the payload. So what we did, we opened a Google form. We received, I would say, more than 100 applications from people to join and test, and we granted access. We granted access to those that were, let's say, at least a bit knowledgeable on what they are doing. And for example, we had Nacho receiving access. We had Zelos Swap, and for example, Zelos deployed their DEX like in 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes on a layer 2 Kasplex, and they posted the recording on how the transactions are going and how fast they are settling on the layer 2. You can see that on their Twitter page, and we granted access to a few more projects. We didn't handpick anyone. We didn't say you are allowed, you are not allowed, but based on your description in the Google form, we understood. There were like some people trying to just see how the Explorer looks like and not do anything. There were like people that were genuinely curious on how to actually build and send a transaction, and I in DMs with them. And there are actual builders that didn't need us in any way because they knew their stuff.
So what is the ecosystem of these, dApps looks like on Kasplex? Like, do you have, there are certain dApps that are, I know, going to be built on IGRA. What does that ecosystem looks like for Kasplex?
We didn't do any partnerships like IGRA did, right? So I saw IGRA's presentation on Web3 in Hong Kong, and I saw that slide with the pack of projects that they are building on IGRA. That's very nice, very good. At the end of the day, what matters is to have actual working dApps and solutions on Kaspa. Doesn't matter if it's IGRA or Kasplex. We don't have such partnerships because, as I was saying throughout this discussion, Kasplex focus is to actually offer the baseline needed for everyone to build on top of it. So there is no need for an actual partnership, because what is a partnership meaning? We are going to market, we are going to promote Kasplex layer 2, and we are going to promote your project. No. What's the purpose of the partnership? The Kasplex team at the end of the day is very open to provide feedback or help if you have issues in deploying, developing, or building something using Kasplex. But this doesn't mean that we will not reply to someone because we don't have a partnership with them. There are no partnerships. We are all a big happy family, and everyone is basically open to use Kasplex.
Let's just wrap this up. So, any closing thoughts you have for us, for the community who's listening and watching?
Yes, I have some closing thoughts. So, again, this is no war between anyone. The more the merrier. If we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 layer 2s on Kaspa, This doesn't mean that Kaspa is going to be spammed with layer twos. No, this means that there are actual builders out there doing their thing. However, I would say that we need to be very, very careful on what we are picking in terms of investing, doing any pre-sales, doing any wallet connection, transactions, so on and so forth. Everyone knows that when once you have a smart contract, you can do basically whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can lock funds, you can steal funds, you can do whatever you want. So my closing thoughts would be this is very exciting. Layer 2s are coming, smart contracts on Kaspa. Everyone was looking for this, but just be very, very careful on what you are doing and how you are navigating through this space. It's very dangerous at the end of the day in losing your funds, and always do your own research because you never know.